In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, government meets online to ensure testing equipment for COVID-19. Heavy rains caused damages to river dikes in the north, endangering people's lives. And in our world news, US-China tensions escalate regarding tech firms.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It's currently 8 a.m. local time and you are tuning in to VTV News. I'm Dylan Lê bringing you the latest updates live from Hanoi. On Friday, at an online meeting between the government and authorities from 14 provinces and cities who have COVID-19 cases, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc asked the health sector and the authorities of these provinces and cities to use all resources to prevent the virus from spreading and avoid a shortage of machines, medical equipment and testing equipment for the SARS-CoV-2 virus.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc emphasized that the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in Vietnam is currently at its peak. The number of infected people, deaths, and provinces and cities with infections is still increasing. As a result, the health sector as well as local authorities must promptly mobilize all resources and materials, prevent corruption in the purchasing of equipment and materials, as well as effectively use resources for prevention efforts, especially for outbreaks in the provinces of Da Nang and Quảng Nam.
We need to answer the question of whether there is a lack of equipment and testing supplies for the virus. For example, the recent situation at the Pasteur Institute of Nha Trang. Did it really occur? Why did that situation happen? These issues need to be overcome. In the prevention of the pandemic, we can apply other forms of procurement. If these procurements are done with transparency, then there is no problem. Da Nang City is an example. It is the center of the pandemic, but still has enough testing machines and equipment. Medical authorities are afraid to buy medical equipment with pricing that is not accurate. Asking the Ministry of Health's opinion can take quite a long time, so we set up a council ourselves that includes the police. We issue early instructions and within the day, we came up with the decision to purchase medical equipment, so we are proactive in terms of buying the things we need.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc emphasized that the risk of infection in the community is still very high, with 14 provinces and cities continuing to see new cases. So in the next 2 weeks, everyone must work together and remain determined to prevent the spread of the virus. In areas with epidemic outbreaks, there must be serious social distancing measures to keep the infection rate low. Until now, Ho Chi Minh City has tested almost 40,000 people who returned from Da Nang. In Hanoi, out of the 96,000 people who returned from Da Nang in July, about 50,000 people who returned between July 15th to 29th will be tested with PCR. With the capacity to take 10,000 samples and test 5,000 samples per day, it is expected that within 12 days, Hanoi will finish testing those returnees. The Prime Minister has also asked health facilities across the country to strictly implement preventive measures against COVID-19 in order to avoid another pandemic outbreak in a health facility.
42 new cases of COVID-19 were confirmed as of 6 a.m. Saturday, August 8th, increasing the total number of patients to 789. Of those, 37 were community-transmitted cases related to Da Nang and 4 came from overseas, announced the National Steering Committee for COVID-19 Prevention and Control. Among the patients, 22 were from Da Nang, 8 from Quảng Nam Province, 2 from Quảng Ngãi Province, 2 from Quảng Trị Province, 1 from Thanh Hóa Province, 1 from Hải Dương Province, 1 from Hanoi, and the 4 imported cases were immediately quarantined in Ho Chi Minh City, Khánh Hòa Province, and Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu Province. Elsewhere in Hanoi announced 2 cases in Phúc Thọ and Hoài Đức district, also a returnee from Da Nang summer trip. A total of 5 COVID-19 cases have been recorded in the capital city since the virus broke out in Da Nang 2 weeks ago. More news about the COVID-19 pandemic in Hanoi. The Hanoi Department of Health on August 7th received 10,000 COVID-19 test kits and 12,000 anti-droplet masks from Tâm Anh General Hospital and the Vietnam Vaccine Joint Stock Company. The package, valued at nearly $160,000, was handed over to the capital's health department in order to contribute to prevention and control efforts in the fight against the novel coronavirus or COVID-19 epidemic. The real-time RT-PCR bio kits created by the Vietnam Military Medical University in collaboration with Viet Technology Joint Stock Company have been recognized by the World Health Organization, WHO. The kits are able to detect new COVID-19 in droplets obtained from a person's respiratory tract and blood. Though the average consumer price index, or CPI, in the past 7 months was higher than the same period last year, 2020's inflation rate is forecast to be lower than 4%, achieving National Assembly's target. That is thanks to Vietnam's stable macroeconomic outlook and the government's drastic measures to control inflation.
The reason Vietnam's CPI in the past 7 months has increased to 4.07% is mainly due to the strong increase in the price of gasoline and pork. Most notably, the increasing demand for electricity and water in July due to hot weather has pulled the figure up about 0.4% higher compared to the previous month's index. However, experts believe that the price increase in gasoline is only technical, while the price of pork has reached its peak, so an abnormal increase is highly unlikely.
As the price of pork could not go higher and the demand for crude oil is relatively weak globally, this year's inflation rate can be kept below 4%.
The inflation rate depends largely on an economy's purchasing power and exchange rate. If purchasing power increases, products will be in shortage and prices will increase. Meanwhile, the depreciation of domestic currency will also make imported goods more expensive and cause inflation.
The downward trend of people's income along with COVID-19 has made people more careful with their spending, so an increase in the inflation rate is unlikely this year. Our exchange rate continues to be stable thanks to a trade surplus and the disbursement of foreign investment capital and domestic production. The decline in domestic production also slowed down import growth, so foreign currency is not likely to cause inflation.
Some factors that might affect the control of the inflation rate in the final months of the year include the prices of public services and equipment for the new school year, coupled with the complex development of the pandemic. However, with the government's direction, the inflation rate is forecast to only reach 3.95% in the worst-case scenario.
The price of gasoline should be adjusted in accordance with the world's price. The Price Stabilization Fund should be utilized to minimize the impact of inflation control. Electricity prices should not be adjusted in 2020. The price of several public service products should not be regulated to control inflation. And inspection of medical equipment should be strengthened to ensure the prevention of COVID-19.
In order to control inflation as well as promote the production of essential commodities, authorities need to strengthen control and stabilize the market. The supply of food products must be protected at all costs, and initiatives should be made to actively control the domestic supply of pork.
These days, the Blue Zone application is the most searched keyword and downloaded app on both Apple and Android app stores in Vietnam. That is an application that alerts people when they come in contact with COVID-19 infected people. The app was developed by the Ministry of Information and Communications and the Ministry of Health. The Prime Minister has urged all people to download it to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In less than 2 weeks, this app has had 10 million local downloads.
While in the office, Long, an office worker, has to have direct contact with many people. As soon as he learned about the Blue Zone application, he installed it right away.
My job often requires me to meet clients and executives. After doing some research, I found this to be a great application. With the app, if I come in contact with an F0 case, the app will alert me.
App motorbike drivers like Dung have also installed the Blue Zone app.
If I come in contact with someone who is sick, then the app will notify me.
My friends on social media have shared that installing the application will provide updated information on who I've been in contact with.
According to the Ministry of Information and Communication, the Blue Zone application does not collect data from a person's location. It ensures privacy and uses low-power Bluetooth connection technology. The application will be more effective if installed on a large scale. Ideally, the people who install the application will reach 60% of the adult population, which is equivalent to about 30 to 40 million people, for optimal effectiveness. Singer Ngọc Anh, who is popular with today's youth, also hopes young people will install this application.
Our work entails going out and being exposed to many people, even thousands of people, during performances. People should install this app not only for themselves, but for the safety of the whole community.
According to the Ministry of Information and Communication, many people think that when they install the application, it will be capable of scanning and detecting F0 and F1 cases around them. But the app doesn't have that capability. The operating principle of Blue Zone is simple. When a person who installs Blue Zone app tests positive for COVID-19, his or her phone number and information will be reported to the Blue Zone Operating Center of the Ministry of Health. Immediately, those who have installed the Blue Zone app and have come in less than 2 meters contact with an infected person in the last 14 days will receive a notification.
Coming up next on VTV News. Hanoi flag hoisting ceremony marks ASEAN's 53rd founding anniversary. And later on, heavy rains caused damages to river dikes in the north, endangering people's lives. Welcome back to VTV News. The ASEAN flag hoisting ceremony was held in Hanoi on Friday, August 7th to mark the 53rd founding anniversary of the association and 25 years of Vietnam's ASEAN membership. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Phạm Bình Minh chaired the event. Addressing the ceremony, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Minh noted that through its community building, ASEAN enables Southeast Asia to thrive as a big family of 650 million people with a combined GDP of $3 trillion and as a peaceful, stable and resilient region with dynamic, vibrant economies. With the Think Community, Act Community approach, Vietnam will continue to work closely with our ASEAN sisters and brothers, as well as with external partners in the international community to build a united and resilient ASEAN community. Da Nang, the location of the country's current biggest COVID-19 outbreak, has been receiving love and message of support from all over the country. Many actions have been taken by various organizations and individuals which highlight the nation's strong spirit and solidarity and fraternity. All actions, no matter big or small, have helped spread meaningful messages and encourage people to join hands in combating the pandemic.
These pictures were drawn with a smartphone by Nguyễn Minh Anh, an accounting student from the Da Nang University of Economics. The pictures, which show COVID-19 prevention activities in Da Nang, look both moving and interesting. It took him 5 days to complete them. Meanwhile, many hotels in the city have turned on their room lights as well as decorative lights to create heart shapes as a sign of encouragement and a call on the community to join hands in the fight against the pandemic. On social networks, people have been sharing the charitable works of philanthropists. Many Facebook users have also changed their profile pictures to show their support for health workers on the front lines. These are just some examples of meaningful actions that have spread a spirit of solidarity and strength among the community to defeat the pandemic. This support has been a motivating force for doctors, nurses, and patients, as well as the people of Da Nang City to stay strong. Through these efforts, Vietnam will definitely win the fight against the disease.
Due to prolonged heavy rains in the northern provinces continuing for nearly a week, many major dikes have subsided, including level 1 dikes which are supposed to protect millions of households in the Red River Delta. Due to this, the dike needs to be repaired urgently to ensure people's safety in the upcoming rainy season.
This is a section of the Level 1 Red River Dike, which runs through the city of Hưng Yên in Hưng Yên Province. The section has a crack that has extended by more than 60 meters since August 2nd. A number of parts of the crack are more than 5 centimeters wide. As soon as it was discovered, the local disaster prevention authority bans vehicles and covers it entirely with canvas to mitigate further damage. However, this has only been a temporary measure.
The key plan is to mobilize all materials and resources to respond and deal with this problem, especially for incidents that have occurred. Our department has been assigned by the province to coordinate with Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development for technical support and funding, in order to study and propose thorough solutions.
Most of the dike built before the 1980s in the north have been affected by the recent prolonged heavy rains. At the Dai River Dike, that runs through Thanh Liêm District, Hà Nam Province, there are cracks that are roughly 270 meters long, which could take at least a month to repair.
We will address this problem on a rolling basis. First, fixing the downstream section to ensure safety against floods, then the upstream to ensure no further impact during flooding season.
It is necessary to identify this as a key point to immediately develop an additional dike protection plan, in which specific responsibilities must be assigned in order to quickly respond to any possible situations.
Heavy rains are still forecast in the north in the coming days. However, it is just the beginning of the rainy season. In light of recent unusual changes in the weather, the dike system should be repaired and improved soon to avoid more damage, as it has happened in Thanh Hóa and Nam Định provinces previously and can happen at any time.
Heavy rains in the past 3 days have caused thousands of cubic meters of soil and rock to slide down onto the DH92 road section, which passes through Phan Xipang Ward and connects Sapa Town Center to Hoàng Liên Commune. The landslides have damaged 3 households along with many properties and made it difficult to travel between the two places. It is forecast that the town will be experiencing rain in the coming days. To overcome the difficulties and ensure people's safety, people committees of communes and wards in Sapa have instructed people to limit their travels and help them move to a safer location. It is widely known that COVID-19 is the golden opportunity for digital transformation. In the context of international trade being heavily affected by COVID-19, for the first time ever, an online 3D fairground platform has been launched to help Vietnamese businesses connect with foreign customers.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Quang's business regularly recorded videos and photos of products to send out to foreign partners for preview. However, it was not until she opened a virtual 3D booth with the help of the online fair platform that she fully appreciated the advantages of technology applications.
I can put thousands of my products into the physical showroom, only the popular ones. So some people may find what they like and some others won't. But with the 3D showroom, customers can see all the products, so they have more options.
This platform will not only have fostered connection with international partners amid the pandemic, but also act as a starting point for the long-term digital transformation of hundreds of businesses and industries in the association.
This platform is a gateway and starting point for long-term digital transformation. Currently, we have 50 showrooms with 5,000 products on the platform. This is a sufficient amount to attract customers, and if people enjoy a certain product, it will lead them to the e-commerce pages of the business. In this current climate, building an e-commerce site for each business is essential.
Not only the platform increasing exposure for the e-commerce sites of domestic businesses, it will also foster connections with online fairs of many other countries. It will also serve as an online channel for long-term and effective support for wood processing enterprises, even when the pandemic is over.
When talking about Ninh Bing's icon, many people would choose the Rocky Mountains, partly because of its abundance everywhere in Ninh Binh province, but partly because here the works of nature become extremely valuable things about history, economy, tourism, and art. In this week's Culture Watch section, we will learn more about that story.
The high mountain ranges normally bring difficulties to the people's lives. But for locals in Ninh Binh province, the limestone mountains have special value that is tied to the history of Hoa Lu, the ancient capital and the first centralized feudal state of Vietnam.
In the 10th century, in order to protect the newly founded state, it was necessary to have a military strategic place as a capital. Later, the emperor chose Hoa Lu because the dense ranges of limestone mountains here could be used as ramparts. Because of this, Hoa Lu is also called the stone capital.
This is Ninh Vân Stone Handicraft Village, which is nearly 400 years old. And Lương Văn Quang, chairman of the Stone Crafting Association, is a talented and enthusiastic artisan who wants to bring the products of his village to the world. From the hardest stone blocks in Vietnam, thanks to Ninh Vân craftsmen's hands, they have been used to make exquisite and beautiful products such as monuments, religious statues, and even giant buildings.
A few dozen years ago, when I started my stone crafting profession, I had a dream of doing something big for my village. Then I created a camp which combined artists and artisans to create artworks for an exhibition called Đồng Vọng Hoa Lu 2020.
Đồng Vọng Hoa Lu is a camp composed of 13 famous artists in Vietnam. After working on their art on June the 4th, 2020, the artists released 18 sculptures made of Ninh Binh stone.
My work for the exhibition was inspired by the traditional Vietnamese communal house, but with some new details to create a softer atmosphere. It is about religion, but it's not too serious. About the material, it is made of Ninh Binh stone, which has aesthetic value, a bold color, and is suitable for modern sculpture.
Đồng Vọng Hoa Lu exhibition is not only a playground for artists, but also to promote stone, not just for their use as defensive ramparts. Ninh Vân stone can also be works of art that are good enough to reach the world.